Not yet, no.
Thank you for tuning in to listen to our broadcast, Eagle Club Network. We are the future emerging and inspiring global leaders and entrepreneurs from the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas Metroplex, who are a part of the Future Leaders Outreach Network. Pursue Your Dreams Eagle Club Project.
The program, supported by the Family Youth Services Bureau, is developed to teach evidence-based teen pregnancy prevention curriculum that teaches middle and high school students to set boundaries from drugs, alcohol, violence, bullying, and all premature sexual activity. Also, parents and other adults can attend our Parent Involvement Network workshops.
We thought you ought to know.
Our slogan is leaders are like eagles soaring to reach the top. So grab a pad and pen and be ready to write down some valuable practical principles and promising practices that would encourage, empower, cultivate, and motivate you to soar like an eagle to the top of the summit, the highest point to reach.
We thought you ought to know. And now, the Eagle Club Network broadcast.
We are back. This is When Eagles Talk, the weekly radio broadcast and podcast here on the Fishbowl Radio Network, put on by Future Leaders Outreach Network. I almost feel a little strange sitting here. I haven't been here in a minute, so I have to reacclimate myself. But it is another glorious Saturday afternoon here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I want to get the housekeeping out of the way and first of all, say hello to and acknowledge our Executive Director, Dr. Diana Clemens. It is her vision that brought this radio broadcast and podcast about, and it is her continued support, along with the financial support of the Family Youth Services Bureau that keeps it on the air. I want to say hello to and acknowledge Miss Njeri Shamari, who we will be seeing soon here, and I guess this next coming week, actually. But I want to say hello to her and acknowledge her. She is the co-founder of Future Leaders Outreach Network and is an integral part of our ongoing success. I want to say hello to the Future Leaders Outreach Network Board of Directors and staff there at our headquarters in the Kansas City, Missouri area. And I want to say hello to and acknowledge the Future Leaders Outreach Network staff here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. For those who may be tuning in for the first time or just may have let it slip your mind, again, the name of this podcast is When Eagles Talk, and EAGLES is an acronym for Emerging and Aspiring Global Leaders and Entrepreneurs Soaring. And we definitely have such an individual on the other end of the table whom, again, I haven't seen in a minute. So how you doing, Shiloh?
I'm doing great, Mr. Stewart. How are you today, sir?
I am above ground, so it is a good day. Back to happy to be back sitting upright and
Yes,
back on my feet.
That's right.
Celebrated another year of life, so it is still good to be in that number, as the song says.
That's right.
So how has school been going? I haven't had a chance to discuss school with you or anything.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. I've been taking some driving lessons. It's been making some progress, and I've been working an internship here actually, and it's been going pretty well.
Oh, well, good. That is good to hear that you are learning, learning business on both sides of the camera, so to speak,
Yes,
or both sides of the board. I also will just say hello to our producer and your grandmother over there. She is just such a support for all of us, not just for you, but for all of us. So thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. We got Angela over there on the knobs and faders. How you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a while either.
Doing good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah. So without any further ado, Shiloh, I'm gonna go ahead and let you introduce our guest for this week.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Hello, everyone. We are very honored and privileged to introduce to you our special guest joining us today, Dr. Jenny Dean. She is one of my teachers at Texas Wesleyan University, where I currently attend college. She is an educator, journalist, and she is also the leader of the Mass Communications Department there at Texas Wesleyan. And she has earned numerous awards and recognitions And I'm very excited to hear a little bit about her story today. So without further ado, first of all, Dr. Dean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So can you start telling our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I have been an educator in higher education for the last 10 years, where I have worked first at Eastern New Mexico University before coming to Texas Wesleyan. And before that, I worked in newspapers. And before that, I did a lot of schooling.
Nice. So what made you decide to want to get involved in higher education, do you think?
So I was probably most influenced by like my 5th grade teachers, to be honest with you. I would never have said it out loud back then, because being an educator is maybe probably not the most exciting job, or doesn't sound like it's going to be exciting, especially when you're young. But as I got older, I really realized that education is where I wanted to be. But there were many it was a long journey to get there. I didn't just start with higher education and just jump in. I kind of wound my way on a kind of a wild little path across the country in an effort to come across all my passions.
That's good. So when you first started out being a teacher and going along that path, what were some of the goals that you had in mind when you first started out?
My goals were to really see how I could influence the next generation of journalists, PR folks, and sports communicators. And I did that by first starting out as a journalist myself, so that I had the actual experience to tell stories and to share my ideas. And I did that for about 6 years as a graphic designer / editor / writer / you name it, I did the job. Page layout and design, I also did that. So I've had a variety of different experiences, which I think became essential to me bringing me back to my current job that I do now, which is educating students in the field of journalism.
That's great. So in terms of, you said you were a graphic designer, what was that experience like? That sounds pretty fun, actually.
So being a graphic designer was really, really a lot of fun. It was also really, really stressful, because everything I did was on deadline. So you'd come in about 4 o'clock at night or in the evening, and you would have to come up with you'd be given a series of maybe 5 or 6 stories, and you had to figure out what you're going to do with them to make the page look good. Whether you're doing the front page of the newspaper or an inside page. And that you'd have maybe 2.5 hours to figure all that out, get all the designs done, whether you're creating graphics or doing the original work. And from there, you would build the page out. And this all has to be done in maybe about 3.5 hours for the first edition of the paper. So it is very high stress, but I love the high stress and found it to be a lot of fun.
That's nice, really good. I will quickly turn over to you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay, well, Dr. Dean, I want to follow that path for a minute, because you watch, like I remember watching the first full feature-length Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and you got the Perry White there, and he's switching text around, and he's designing a page.
Yep.
But so how does the text and the graphic art, what's the process for getting all that onto a page? Because it's got to be a pretty hectic process.
It is a very hectic process. There are programs that are built to help you with that are very specific for newspapers, which have all the pieces there, and you can essentially dump them on the page, and get to know how to use the software to actually build a page.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not uncommon to build a page and have it done that 3 hours in and be ready for that, and have a half hour to spare, and then all of a sudden news breaks and you have to redo the whole thing again. And so it's a great exercise in patience. It's very energizing. There's one night I remember where we had to rebuild. It was the 5th edition of the paper, and it was midnight, and most people had gone home, but 2 police officers had been shot. And so we had to rebuild the whole paper around that. So I was the only one designer there. So I had to just cut, paste, move quickly, and determine what to do next.
In cases like that, do stories end up being dropped or moved to another page, or?
Yes, absolutely. A story like that. And in this particular case, the not only was the police officer shot, but we knew they were dead. So that's a front page story. So that means whatever was on the front page before had to move somewhere else, probably to the local section. And then you just shift everything around as quickly as you possibly can, and someone edits behind you in hopes that we don't make an error.
So in a case like that, what story would get dropped? So I'm sure eventually something would get dropped, pulled from the paper altogether.
Yeah.
How would you make those decisions?
In my position, I would call whoever the night editor is at that time and say, okay, here's the scenario. I have exactly 30 minutes to make these changes. You want to drop, because they're also involved in the process throughout the night.
Okay.
And once we figure that out, then it's just flip-flopping things really quickly and having a copy editor behind me checking everything to make sure we're saying everything, correctly and accurately.
And I'll turn it back over to you, Shiloh, but that seems like, because I don't even, just thinking it through, maybe when you move things around, there's sure the typesetting, it doesn't fit where it used to fit, and do you have to, kind of whittle stories down, or?
Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes whittling stories down, sometimes there's ways to expand type without people noticing it. That's not visually, it's not visual to you, the average person, that you can shift things around a little bit. And maybe adding a picture, taking out a picture. I mean, there are different ways to finagle space.
Yeah, and I've done that. I've done editing for like newsletters and things, but you have time. You're sitting there like, no, you're moving stuff around. It's not like what you would do.
No.
Sure. So, Dr. Dean, in regards to your career in journalism, what would you say was one of the most favorite things about being a journalist? Would you say?
How energizing it is to be a part of something as things happen. And the other nice thing about being a journalist is typically once you're done with stuff and things have happened and done, and you go home for the evening, you are done. It's a very different career from being an academic where you are constantly always working. And when I went home at the end of the night as a journalist, I was able to be done and complete. So that was a big bonus for that. Whereas as an academic, things continue to come up, things continue to change, and I'm always trying to just keep up with what's going on.
For sure. So, when you, I guess, first started out, starting your teaching journey, what were some of the things that you set goals on, that you accomplished, that maybe you were very proud of, that you probably thought that you wouldn't be able to do it in the beginning? Did you have any?
So my biggest goal is always to get my students through the class. I want everyone to succeed. That's really my biggest goal. And is it always accomplishable? No, but I always do my best to really reach out and really make sure every student gets what they need so they can pass the class. Because ultimately, education is about learning and becoming a better person and understanding the concepts so that you can go out there and get a job.
For sure. And to that point, being able to teach someone something that you found valuable, and having them be able to maybe turn that into something that they're passionate about, something that a teacher has to do, because if you can't make that impact, then there's not really much for you to do. But when you're able to turn someone around, it can really help out a lot. So would you say that being just a mentor to some of your students have helped them kind of prosper in where they want to be as future adults?
Yeah, so that's the other part about it is helping them find their passion, because oftentimes students come to college, they're not sure what they want to do yet, and they say, well, I'm going to be a mass communication person, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And as they develop in the program, they find out, oh wow, I love podcasting, or I love video, or I love writing, and they didn't realize that at the beginning. And so it's fostering those skills so they can really hone in on those things that they're most interested in, but also learn everything, so that you just never know these days what kind of stuff a job is going to require. So if you know how to do all the basics, you have a much better shot at getting a good job than if you just know one specific aspect of communication.
For sure. I see here that you are a media director for the student newspaper. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So about 5 years ago, I took over as the student media director of the Rambler, which is the school newspaper at Texas Wesleyan University. From there, what I've done is I manage a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I also have an assistant that helps me with a lot of stuff too, and deals more with the hands-on with the students' issues. I do more of the kind of the upper level management stuff. Some of the stuff that's less fun, to be honest with you. What I really like is when I get to work with the students and help them produce a story that they are very proud of and that they worked really hard on. Those are the most rewarding moments when I do. But I also, have to do some of the other stuff too, so
Yeah,
it kind of balances out.
for sure. So, what would you say is one of the most challenging aspects or parts of being a educator in your line of work, would you say, that a lot of people may just overlook?
I think one of the things that people don't realize about educators, they think we get summers off, but in reality, we really don't, because we're constantly either going to conferences, trying to better ourselves, learn new skills, or we're getting caught up on some other stuff that has to be done that we haven't done yet, that needs to be processed for the next school year, or we're developing a new class. So the work of an educator is really something that never ends. You can stop and go on vacation, of course, but it's one of those things that you're constantly in motion. You're always learning something new, and I think the second you stop is the second you become not as good of an educator, because that's when you stop learning. And just like your students, you need to be learning constantly.
Right. And, you learn something new every day, so, being able to apply that, knowledge of, everyone's path is different, and it doesn't always hurt to, just do what's different from everyone else, because, you're your own person. So I will turn back over to you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay, I guess since this program is geared towards empowering and developing young people, I guess my first question is, what type of personality characteristics would you say are well suited for being in journalism?
You have to like things that are fast paced. You have to be very caring and being willing to listen, because there are so many times you'll hear stories from people that if you listen and you really take in what they're saying, and not interrupt them, you can get a ton of information from folks that they just keep sharing more and more and more. And that is, to me, one of the more rewarding aspects of journalism, because when you hear those stories and being able to tell and share those stories, I think we've accomplished a lot, because there's so many talents out in the world around us, and we don't see them, and sometimes people get overlooked. And one of the things you can do when you really listen is understand people's stories in a unique way. I think that's one of the most important things that journalists do.
Okay, and how would you, and kind of piggybacking on that, how would you say journalism helps develop people's ability to communicate with each other and to see the world in a bigger picture?
Yeah, one of the things that journalism teaches you is to ask questions, and ask lots of questions, and never be done, and never, be completely satisfied. And I think that's really important. I think if you're not going to really dig deep and ask those questions, I think you stump what you're going to learn, and you also miss out on a lot of stuff. So I think that's what's really important there.
Yeah, just being able to, and like you were just saying, like you and Shiloh were just saying, just learning something new every day. You have to have the desire to learn something new, and so if a person, well, I guess my last question, I'll turn it back over to Shiloh, but how would you, because you took a path through journalism to become an educator. How would, what would you say would be a helpful in focusing a young person's skills if they have an interest in being in journalism or in media, what do you think would help them to harness and focus those skills and abilities?
The biggest thing is to try new things. When you get a teacher that says, go out and do a podcast, go out and do a video, go out and write a story, and they give you directions and some specifics, go out and do that. It may not be your favorite thing, but what you might find is that those skills really transform you into something and seeing something in a new perspective. I've had a number of students go on that have worked under me at the school newspaper who were broadcast directors. They didn't go into broadcast, but they went into public relations, and the writing skills that they learned as part of being part of the broadcast propelled them way up the ladder, and now are really successful students. Or not students, but practitioners in the field, right? So, the big thing is go after your dreams. If you see something you like, do more of it. Don't stop. Don't just say, well, I only have one assignment on this. Well, keep going and really engage.
So if, for example, if a person likes to talk a lot, that's an attribute that perhaps could be harnessed into being a podcaster or something.
Could be a podcaster, could be an announcer of some sort. Oftentimes we have students do announcing for like the sports stuff on campus that are really interested in announcing, so there's that. So there's an unlimited amount of stuff that you can do. You just have to go looking for it. And once you kind of focus in on what you really are passionate about, it really becomes easier to find what you want to do with your degree.
Yeah,
for sure. So, Dr. Dean, I guess my next question is, what are some of the perks of being in the higher education, network, would you say?
You have access to unlimited numbers of books and information. I think having access to all that stuff is so important because I'm one of those people who likes to constantly learn, right? And you can only constantly learn by having information and new stuff in front of you. And I gotta say, the students are also incredibly important. I think it's one thing that's oftentimes overlooked, but the students bring in all these new ideas. They've tried these new games, they've tried these new things that I've never even heard of, and they bring them in and they say, well, look at this, how do you use this? It's like, well, I haven't used that, so now I need to figure out how to use that, right? And build my skills there. So the students are also an essential component to all of this.
For sure. So could you maybe tell us maybe a story of maybe a young person that you've maybe mentored in the past or kind of guided along the way that maybe has left an impact on you in some way?
Yeah, so I had a student who really struggled in my classes. He wasn't sure he wanted to be in school, he was really into sports, but ultimately, I showed the movie, what was it called? About Watergate. And anyway, he saw that movie and that changed his perspective on something, on the world. And he was like, wow, I want to be a journalist. And from there, he's gone on, he's doing all sorts of big things in South Texas right now, because he saw a movie that caught his attention and said, wow. So one of the things you never know as an educator is what exactly is going to catch someone's attention.
Right.
The movie is All the President's Men. All the President's Men is a slow-moving, somewhat, by modern standards, probably a boring movie to many people, but for this one student, it made the difference in his career. And all of a sudden, he went from being a student that was like, I'm here to play a sport, to a student that is there to learn, so that he can use those skills later on in life.
So I'm curious because I remember All the President's Men, and I'm in my mind, I'm just trying to connect what do you think it is about All the President's Men that kind of pulled him or ignited a passion for journalism? Do you think it was the clandestine way that they had to gather the information about Watergate, or what do you think?
I think it's how they went about uncovering stuff step by step and building those skills. I think that this particular student, I don't think I ever thought about it that way, that you could do investigative journalism in a sense, that it would have such a powerful impact.
Okay.
I think that's what was really key for that particular student.
Okay. That was interesting. Go ahead, Shiloh. I was just trying to connect the dots. It's like, okay, because, all the president's men really kind of focuses on, Nixon, but I guess then it does also focus on, it focuses on uncovering, the things that his desire to actually, take over, to be almost a king, and I don't want to go too far down that aisle, just because we could, but it all, it kind of focuses on his desire to not adhere to the restrictions that government places on the branches of government and all those things, and so yeah, and I guess that could ignite a passion for investigative reporting. I just never kind of looked at it from the other side of the street. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Dr. Dean, I guess my next question is, so you have earned 2 master's degrees, is that correct?
2 master's degrees, yes.
Nice. What were those in again? I forgot.
No problem. The first one was in photography, where I also specialized in graphic design, and the second one was in journalism.
Okay, so out of those 2, which one would you say is the one that, I guess, was your most favorite, I guess, aspect of, launching your career in that path?
So I don't think I have to pick one. They both played separate roles. The one in photography and graphic design got me my first jobs in journalism, so that was really important because that's what I wanted to do. But when I went on to University of Colorado Boulder to get my second one in journalism, one of the things I didn't learn in school, and my parents didn't know the difference either, is that I did a project as my master's degree for my photography and graphic design. So I had a physical project that I had done, but I did not write a thesis. And in order to go back and get a PhD, they wanted to see a thesis. So I went back and got a second master's for the sole purpose of writing a thesis, as well as learning more information, of course, and engaging more with journalism. But ultimately, I needed that degree to get out to propel myself to the PhD.
Nice. So, my next question before we go to break, in terms of being a journalist and getting involved in that field, how important is it, would you say, it is for a young person who is starting out in that path to be able to maybe take some, what they call constructive criticism, in a good light when they're, being told what they did wrong or what they can improve upon? How important is it, would you say, that they're open to that feedback? Because a lot of times they can get, even me, we can get kind of prideful or take pride in our work. So how important is that, would you say, in that regard?
I have to say, the journalism profession is one that is pretty rough. You get a lot of commentary back that sometimes is said, and it's not sugar-coated. It's like, you screwed up, you better fix this. Or someone else screwed up, and it looks like you screwed up, so you're in trouble. There is no sugarcoating any of that. So you learn very quickly to be thick-skinned and say, okay, yes, I'll acknowledge that I maybe didn't do this the best, but how can I fix this and do better the next time? And that's really what the most important thing is. And that's a lesson with whether you're doing journalism or anything else is, yeah, I didn't do that perfectly the first time, but how do I do it better the second time? I think that's the biggest takeaway. Even though sometimes being yelled at is, it's a little scary, you do get used to it, and you realize that's part of the field.
Yeah, and I would just say, as we go to break, I would just say in any career, the more fast-paced that career is, the less time there is to sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
So I would think that just as any young people watching, just as a looking for a career path, just know that there are a lot of careers out there that are very fast-paced and demanding, like journalism, where people don't have time to make sure that you feel okay about what has happened. They just need things to move on to completing a goal, completing a mission. And that even happens in the military from time to time, so. But I think we will go ahead and take a break. We will be right back. This is When the Eagles Talk on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
You might want to talk about the skill set that's needed to go into journalism. Like,
Okay.
yeah. And the other thing is AI, and what role is it going to be playing futuristically in the media and all of that, I think. Because I think we rely too much on it. And where is truth in all of that? Because ultimately, you know, there's fake news and all this other stuff, but how do we, you know, media used to be about reporting the truth.
Yep.
You know, and I think the exciting part about The President's Man, and I started seeing it, and I was with you, it was a boring movie, I wasn't interested, I knew that how it ended, but that's just me, that was never my calling, but I think the exciting part about it all was the uncovering and discovering and getting people in trouble.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's always very exciting, you know, it's catching folks, you know, like I'm sure you know, everything that's been caught and talked about is kind of like, wow, I uncovered that. You know,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
I think that his,
'Cause, you know, it's one thing to say it and another thing if you can prove it.
well,
And
yeah,
proving
Yeah.
it
well, that's
is
it.
a real highlight.
And that's the thing, you know, I think that, and I thought about this several times over the past probably year or so, but I think that Nixon's history and all the president's men has kind of been a blueprint for what is going on in our government today. There were things that
I think it's happened way before today as well, though, in other presidencies. I mean, I'm not labeling any, I'm just think that government, just as a rule, has a tendency to have both.
well, yeah, no, I'm just, and although, you know, our current president is not
The
my favorite
corruption
person,
and not corruption.
I will say that I agree with you, that it's not just our current administration. I think that Nixon's presidency was a blueprint for things, for a culmination up to where we are today. I don't think it's just one administration. I agree with that. I think it, but,
You know,
because-
when you look at those one-horse towns, you know, and a corrupt sheriff, you know, I mean, you just got it, that kind of stuff, yeah, you know, you're right, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you talk about the skill sets, oh, and the job opportunities, are there a lot of job opportunities for journalism and in mass communications? Is that a up-and-coming career? Is it very competitive? You know, all of that, and if you can't, everybody can't be on, you know, CBS News or the evening news.
Well, yeah,
or
that's what I
that.
was gonna
But
say
there's
is that-
other careers that that come out of that too.
or there is the non-corporate media has begun to explode. There are a lot of networks out there that, you know, not NBC, not ABC, not CBS. There are a lot of other networks that have, and because of the advent of things like YouTube, that there are a lot of non-corporate media outlets that have grown to be quite credible. I mean, you know, that, you know, where they're not just trying to report garbage, that they are actually trying to report news, but they're not handcuffed by you know, by corporate image. So they can do credible reporting, but they can do it without the shackles,
Right,
you know.
a little more freedom.
Yeah.
Also, before, at the end, do a, how to contact either yourself or how to contact Wesleyan University if you're interested in their classes or whatever, just kind of a
Okay.
plug, if you want to.
Okay.
If you don't want to do a plug, it's okay.
Alright.
It's nothing like that is mandatory. Please, it's your show.
Yeah, we
We're blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
so so Shiloh, have you kind of I know journalism is taking you down a path, but have you looked at specialization a lot? Are you still
Specialization, what do you mean by that?
as far as what aspects of media that you really want to focus on? Because and also I would like to discuss behind the camera opportunities as well as in front of the camera opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Because even when I talk to people about music a lot, people just see the performers but there's so many careers in music that have nothing to do with performing, you know, so, you know, just kind of looking at.
They
that
were
aspect.
showing Leon Bridges' studio in one of the newspapers the day before yesterday, because that was a great big highlight, and he wasn't nowhere near, you know, so that's good, you know,
Yeah.
show the studios and what all he.
We have a lot of people that go into work at churches, all the mega churches.
Yeah,
Because they all
huge.
need to do all the audio, all the video, I mean, it's a huge industry.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Beyond
churches
just-
especially
yeah.
have
And
really
that's
gone to that.
big
yeah,
thing.
so just careers.
Pope Francis really used a lot of media when he was, when he was alive over there, yeah.
So I guess we can,
You ready?
yeah, I guess we can go back. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
Y'all going great, y'all are doing great.
3, 2.
We are back. This is When Eagles Talk, the weekly radio broadcast and podcast here on the Fishbowl Radio Network, put on by Future Leaders Outreach Network. Just a quick, just to point out about Future Leaders Outreach Network. We are a nonprofit. We have been in business for around 26 years. I know Dr. Clemens would not like to hear me say around, but yes, and her passion from the beginning was to motivate and empower young people to be the best version of themselves, both in their current lives and in their future lives. And that passion has blossomed into an agency that is doing a lot of good work in a lot of areas around the country. And continuing to grow in a lot of new areas. As a matter of fact, I think that Dr. Clemens is currently working with culinary professionals to help to motivate and inspire people that want to get into the culinary field. And I know that we have a trailer there in Kansas City that I think is being augmented to not just to AI, because I know that they're doing AI, you know, they're doing, and using not just AI, but using virtual reality to help to educate people in a lot of different areas. But I think that trailer is also being augmented so that they can appeal to people that would like to get into the culinary arts, because there is a lot of, you know, I mean, if you can learn to feed yourself, you can probably learn to feed the world if you go on, if you expand it. And then there is a magic about cooking and what it can bring to a community, what it can bring to a family. Yeah, it can bring families together just around the table to talk and discuss things. And so I am very excited to see where that goes. But again, we are Future Leaders Outreach Network. If you are interested in learning more about what we do, you can go to www.flon, that's Frank Lima Oscar Nancy, flon.org, and you can learn a lot more about what we are doing, not just here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but at our headquarters and around the country. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, Shiloh, so you can go ahead and keep interviewing our distinguished guest.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. So to start back off, Dr. Dean, what would you say the role AI is going to play in maybe the future of journalism? Do you see it impacting it in some way, or how do you see that issue?
I see it in a lot of ways. It's going to help us with the copy editing issues that we currently have. You see a lot of errors in the paper, just grammatical errors. AI can do a lot of that stuff and do it very well. And with each iteration of AI, it seems to be even better. So I think that's going to help, especially with the just so much staff has been cut, and the people they've kept have just been talent basically, and they've gotten rid of maybe the copy editors, the designers, a lot of the photographers. So I think that's one area that would be helped. I also think it helps clean up copy and make it stronger. However, one of the things that you have to watch for is that you keep your own voice in everything that you write. So it's great to, and the other kind of caveat to that is if once you put it in AI, right, it's training AI, so AI has seen it even before it's gotten into out on your website, in your newspaper, wherever it's going. Same with video. I think it can help and improve the process, but it ultimately relies on the person to make sure the information is correct, especially when it comes to interviewing people. AI will never, I don't think, replace the ability of people to do the interviews for a story and to creatively put together a story.
For sure. And, you know, like you said, finding your own voice in that regard and not letting AI replace, you know, your thinking cap, because at the end of the day, you know, you can think for yourself. You know, AI is just gonna make it a whole lot easier, and sometimes you just gotta, you know, do it yourself and, you know, see where it takes you. So I guess in regards to being in, you know, higher education, what would you say has been one of the most, I guess, proud moments that you've had teaching at Texas Wesleyan?
Probably the proudest moment I have had is just simply watching my students walk across the stage, especially those who really struggled in the beginning and then have made their way forth and have really shined in the end. Those stories carry a lot of weight as an educator and make such a difference and make it so I want to come back and do more and teach more. If I wasn't making a difference in people's lives, being an educator would not have the same meaning. But when I see the difference I've made in students' lives and how far they've gone, and then especially when I see them get these jobs, work their way out into the field, it's just totally amazing to see what they can do. And I don't think students even realize what they're about to do when they walk out the door. But when they do, it's truly amazing.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I will quickly turn it back over to you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. I know you have a master's, you said you have a master's in photography, and there's so many aspects to journalism. But I was wondering, because people become photographers and they stay in the photography field, but do you think that learning to see the world through a lens, do you think that helps people to have a broader view of life, you know, when they back up from the lens?
Yes and no. One of the problems with photography is you see things from one perspective, and I think there's a little bit of danger in that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see to the left, the right, up, down, bottom, you just see that one incident or that one moment and nothing else that goes around it. And so I think that photography is great for telling a story, but understanding that you're only seeing part of the story is really important. And I think it's one thing that people oftentimes overlook.
Okay. And just as a career path, do you think photography is essential to being a good journalist, or do you think you can be a good journalist without necessarily being a photographer?
Sure. You can be a good journalist without being a photographer, but when people read a page or they'll go to a website and they look at information, first thing they look at is the photograph.
Yeah.
And if they like the photograph, they might read the headline. If they like the headline, they might read the story.
Yes.
So it's a process, and if you can get all three of those things right, then you've made some progress. But if one of those things is not as strong as it should be, then you lose your audience. And once you've lost your audience,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they're gonna bounce somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good perspective. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, just to piggyback off of that, because in that field of journalism, you're gonna have, like, when you're interviewing people to get, you know, sources of different stories, I mean, social media can make things a whole lot harder in some cases, to where you're gonna have to, you know, dig into what's actually true and what's not. So would you say that, you know, that is a, you know, a critical aspect of being a journalist, but would you say that doing that has helped you in your field of being a journalist in that regard, or how that?
So has photography helped me?
Yeah.
Helped me? Okay. Yes, it really has. Because well, one of the things that's really helped with my mom, I actually grew up in a journalism household. My mom was a journalist for 40 years. She did the writing side of things, and I was bound and determined as a child that I would never go into journalism. Matter of fact, I was going to be a biologist. It was my undergraduate initial degree. because I didn't want to follow my mom's footsteps. I want to be unique. I want to be my own person, right? But ultimately, because I had gone on so many stories with her, learned so much storytelling from her, I found that actually journalism was my natural niche. And so as I kind of meandered the field, I came back to journalism, and that's how I kind of got where I am at this very moment. And so that's kind of a unique part of my little story, I guess you might say.
Yeah, well, I just found it interesting that a lot of times we don't want to be like our parents. We want to think that we have branched out, and a lot of times that path brings us right back.
It's right back, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I did do something different in that, writing was not my biggest forte. I focused in on visual stuff. And so ultimately that worked really well because my mom's written several books, and our work together has complemented each other in our storytelling. So I'll do some of the visual stuff for her poster company and some of her other things that she does. And then likewise, my writing stuff, she'll be an editor, and boy will she edit it with a red pen and tell me what I've done wrong. So it goes give and take back and forth. It works really well. Yeah.
Nice. So, I guess my next question for you, Dr. Dean, is, being a teacher currently, what are, I guess, some of the ways to maybe combat, having, like teachers have a lot of pressure on their hands to, do things for the students and to, be a mentor and just be a guiding source for them to, find their own way. So how have you kind of handled that, I guess, role in that setting, I guess?
So the most important thing to me in every day that I go to work is that the students have a good experience. If nothing else, if everything else goes haywire and I have to work through some different things, my priority is always to the students. So I will drop what I'm doing if I'm doing something managerial that has to be done. I'll stay late and get that done. But ultimately, it's really a focus on the students, making them successful, helping them where they're at. If there's a problem or an issue, addressing that issue, making sure that they're being successful.
Sure.
I want to ask, if you were talking to a young person, and if you were talking to a young person and you looked at that person and said, you would make a good journalist. What skills would you see in them that would make you say you would be a good journalist? What skills would be
Need to display.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are so many skills that go into journalism, and, at the forefront and in the backside of things. Being a good writer is, that's the unobvious one, right? Being a good photographer, being a good designer, being a visual person, all those, those are all things that go into journalism, it's, proper, but also, when you get to TV, you have personalities that you have to develop, you have broadcast skills, not only in front of the camera, but also behind the scenes that you need to have. Those skills in communicating, asking good questions, challenging people to think outside the box, look at things in a unique way, all come together to help tell a story. And if you have any of those skills at all, even an inkling of one of those skills, you can develop those skills to being a great communicator. And whether you want to go to journalism or you want to go to public relations, sports communication, it doesn't really matter. Communication, I just read an article out of Forbes, I think this morning actually, that I think it's ranked at 96% as being one of the top fields to go into, communication-wise, not specifically journalism, but communication-wise, because you can do so much with it. Every company out there needs a good communicator, whether it be broadcast, work, podcasting, writing. You can pick your niche, whatever it is that you are most interested in, and really succeed in just going after what you want to do. And there are job openings all over the place for those skills.
What about, you mentioned skills behind the camera. What about, audio, video, those kind of skills? What would the person need? What would a young person need to have to be successful behind the camera? Not, you mentioned the writing, but other,
Right.
the other things that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just practice running a board that attaches to all the equipment, running the cameras, running the podcast equipment, trying it all out, seeing how it all works, seeing what you'd like to do. Because you don't have to be an on-air talent to be really successful as a journalist. You can be one of the behind-the-scenes people and be absolutely essential to the success of everyone else. Because without the people at the back end helping and making sure everything functions and moves smoothly and moves forward, you wouldn't have a successful show out there to start with, right? So it's like everyone is uniquely placed to work together. And that's the other, one key to it, is that you have to be willing to work together with other people. And if you can do that, communication is really an open field for just about anyone that they can join and find their place.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess my next question, Dr. Dean, is what advice would you maybe give to your younger self or a young person who's, listening in right now?
Follow your passions. If you know you want to do something, go for it. Don't tell yourself you can't do it. Because if you tell yourself you can't do it, then you can't. But if you step up and say, okay, I'm really interested in this, I want to figure this out, and you go for it, chances are you're going to be successful. Because there's so many different levels you can do things at. You don't have to be, just like you don't have to be an announcer for the NFL to be successful. Right? There are so many different levels. You can do it at a high school level, which is also really big and important. Or you can do it for even, younger ages. So, whatever it is you want to do, go for it, do it, and keep going on it as soon as you can. Don't wait until your senior year and say, oh, well, now I'm interested in this. If you know you're interested in it, your freshman year, talk to your advisors, get advice right away so that you can step into that field and get going on it. And really know what your passions are. So when you graduate, you have a whole bunch of experience.
That's key. Get it. If you find a passion, get advice from people that are, that have gone down that path. They can make it a lot easier for you. And that's in all the careers and things that we talk about here on this podcast. That's just general good advice. Shiloh, I think we got time for maybe one more.
Okay. Dr. Dean, could you maybe give our audience maybe a way to contact you?
Sure. I'm pretty easy to contact. My contact information is really my last name, which is Dean, D as in David, E-A-N as in Nancy, at txwes.edu, which is texwes.edu. And I'm always available to answer questions. I'm always curious what people are up to, so I'm always happy to get a random email or a random question. I'm happy to answer those questions and direct you, if you're interested in Texas Wesleyan, I'm happy to direct you in the right way to get involved there as well. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Again, I would just like to get young people that might be watching or their parents that are trying to inspire their young people to think about all of the careers that we've mentioned that aren't in front of the camera. Even lighting directors. There are just so many avenues that you can go into that are directly linked to journalism and or communications. There's just so many paths that you can follow. That you can go to technical schools to learn about audio, video, lighting. There's just so many paths that you can follow that can lead to a very, very successful career. And I want to, Dr. Dean, thank you for being willing to spend your time with us and to help inspire some young people. Your career, your life has been amazing from where I sit. You are proof of, as Shiloh is, of what education can do for someone. So I want to thank you for taking your time. And Shiloh, go ahead and take us home.
Yes, sir. As me and Mr. Stewart always say, take time to love yourself, because when you do, it will be that much easier to love someone else in the process. We will see you guys back here next time. Take care.
Take care.
Well, y'all did terrific.
Thank you for listening to our broadcast, Eagle Club Network,
take
the
pictures.
only and unique broadcast in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas metroplex that is developed for and by teens and college-age students.
Tune in every Saturday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to listen to teens,
college-age students, the parents, and others community leaders from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex
We will
and
send,
around the nation when scheduled.
we'll send you the link to the podcast so you can have the recording
us on
of it. You
Facebook
can go
and
online
watching
and
our
send it to
YouTube
us.
channel. Both found by typing in Future Leaders Outreach Network. If you are interested in getting involved with our Pursue Your Dream Eagles Club project or being one of our special guests, then visit our website at www.flon.org or call us at 817-678-4695.
That number again is 817-678-4695.
And remember, you are a leader like an eagle soaring to reach the top of the summit, the highest point to reach.
His mom's the owner of the whole,
Oh,
she's Miss
wonderful.
Sammy Martinez that.
Okay,
we referred
yeah.
I
to.
just realized the
Yeah.
phone number is wrong at the end of
She's
that.
at, she's at home, but,
Yeah, we'll have to recut that.
We cut
and
it,
then we
yeah.
met Chance, his supervisor,
Yes.
direct supervisor. Let's take pictures of that. You know what, I wish, I want resume is probably more.
Yeah.
It's transferring over right now.
Okay,